Very good evening to everyone. Welcome in the day 2 of this workshop of artificial intelligence. Today again, Sohrab Vakharia is with us. So without taking your much time, I directly request to Sohrab, please take charge for the session.
All right.
One more,
Hello,
sorry
everyone.
to interrupt. One more announcement to all the participants. We have enabled a chat room for the GoToWebinar. So whatever you want to ask to Saurabh, you can post your queries, your answers in chat room. Thank you. Continue, Saurabh.
All right. All right. So, very good evening, everyone. And hope I am loud and clear to everyone. Okay. So, if you all can hear me, you can write in the chat window so that you can hear me. Yes. Okay. Lovely. This is good. All right. So much better than yesterday. It's audible. Okay, no problem. So yesterday there was some technical glitch, and today it is not good. So I think we have more than 50% of participants, 164 out of 227. So people are coming. So we'll start. Okay. Somebody's asking, yesterday did you take the session later? I continue till 9 o'clock. Will we be able to see the uh, participants' questions? You may not be able to, but I'll be able to answer. So I'll be able to see here whatever questions come in. So enjoy it like radio, okay? So how it happens in a radio station? You post your question to a radio jockey and the radio jockey answers. So enjoy that way. You will have a very different kind of enjoyment. Okay. We request to send the material immediately so that we can go through. Okay, you'll get it. You'll get it. Don't worry. Okay. All right. So today we're gonna discuss different types of intelligence, and I'm just putting my the camera off, and you can just concentrate on the PPT. All right. Okay. So types of AI is our today's agenda to discuss and to understand what different types of AI we have. So yesterday we learned about what is AI. We learned the basic fundamental of artificial intelligence and how it works. Today we are going to learn different types of artificial intelligence, and it's huge. We won't be able to sum it up everything in one go, but definitely we'll try to give you some idea on the same. Okay, so that you understand what type of different types of AI. Okay. So, all right, there is a question. Are we going to interact through this chat window today? Yes, Mr. Naman. Yes, we'll be able to, we'll be doing this way. So we are practicing a different method to do the same. So you can, I'll be seeing all the questions and I'll be answering you here itself. Okay, so we should have some notes pre-read before each class. Not really required. Not really required. Don't worry. Uh, okay, so when I say types of artificial intelligence, like the first question might come to your mind. AI में types भी होते हैं. I mean, like different types of AI. When I am saying different types, it could be only one, right? But no, there are different types. It has its own wide variety of explanation. So we will see that. Okay, what different types are there today? Okay, so let me just give you another explanation, giving you an understanding about the traditional AI and the modern artificial intelligence approach. Now, traditional AI, when we say Means earlier when AI started, it started, as I said, it started with a very minuscule motive to mimic the human brain. I said yesterday, you remember whose name I took who started AI? Just to question you, maybe. Okay, if you know uh, whose name has been taken when the AI has became, who was the pioneer of AI, I would say, uh, Mr. Alan Turing. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Ravi. Turing, Mr. Alan Turing, or Sir Alan Turing. He has been given the title as Sir. So Sir Alan Turing, 7th June 1956, I guess, he passed away. That was, and nobody knows that. He started 8th June, but just a day before, that 7th June is the date when he had a sad demise, 1956. So now, when the AI started during that time, okay, so it started with a very, you can say, a shallow approach, or a very a primitive approach, wherein they simply wanted to mimic a human brain. But as in they learned much more. They learned about neural networks, they learned about fuzzy, they learn a lot many things. Okay, so earlier it was just a processing unit which was being created to mimic. So there was machine learning they have added, and they've added a few expert systems. A neural network approach was been there, and a very conventional artificially intelligent machine was prepared, which used to give you a certain set of answers, so that it has a very limited scope. So, for example, the first chatterbot, Mr. Weizenbaum, who developed, okay, its name was Aliza, that passed Alan Turing's test. So that chatbot used to engage humans for in a chat. So chatterbots are the ones when you chat and they just keep you engaged. So in a limited scope, yes. But then later on, things have changed. Modern AI today is very different from the traditional one. We've got uh, very high-powered processors to to process the data much faster, so that and also it's huge scalable, and it can also work on a huge scale of data as well. Okay, nowadays we just don't only rely on the machine learning or the neural networks, but we've gone into the deep neural networks and the deep learning. So what's happening? What's happening? People are trying to reach to human cognition somewhere. They've yet not reached, but they're trying. The scientists or the researchers who are researching about AI, they're trying to reach to a further level more into the deep learning, so that they can get various more patterns to be close to human brain. So the entire idea is to ensure that you be more close and closer to the human brain. The entire idea is about that. So that's the journey. Like, which right started from 1950 to 2019, I would say. I won't be saying about 2020. Okay, so the entire journey is about that. Moving further, so now AI has its own paradigms and it has own hierarchical distribution, which I've just shared it in front of you. Starting from the machine learning to natural language processing to the speech recognition to an expert system to planning, scheduling, optimization, robotics, the vision, or robotic vision, rather, we say, and they are further again classified in their own niche. Like machine learning has been again further classified into the deep learning, predictive analysis, and NLP has got like translation to classification and clustering, information extraction. Speech is what we already have been using, speech to text and text to speech. And then vision is all about the image recognition and machine vision. So AI has its root in different domains, and these domains are being further uh, kept classifying. So in fact, what you see today might be a very small version of AI, and tomorrow what you see is going to be much bigger version. As I said yesterday, AI is not a rocket science, not something very superhuman or supernatural. It's just that you are training a machine, or you're programming a machine to work like humans. So now there are various aspects, as in when you keep discovering, you keep on adding, and the entire field keep expanding. Are you getting it? So, all right. So now I'll just check for a few questions. If somebody is posted, can we see programming code? You can see your programming code, but I think I'm not. We won't be discussing more about the programming here in these sessions, because maybe not everyone would be that comfortable with the programming. But I can give you a few more few examples, and if you want to learn more on the programming, I have several codes of mine which are available online. I can maybe share the URLs with you. You can check that. Okay, I'll also be sharing a few more YouTube URLs, which I've a few pre-recorded videos I have. You can see that to have a little more knowledge. Okay, somebody is writing, are the captchas that we see in Google or other websites used for training machines on AI? Captchas are programmed by AI. Okay, so that is. Then I think we don't need to know the programming technicals. Not really. Uh, See, the learning approach, what we are having is different. I don't expect my maximum CA people here to be a complete technical geek and learn all the programs, but uh, we'll be trying to teach you in a way so that you can do your work, or you can program your version of AI by yourself, and you can understand AI. So the entire objective here is to understand AI a little better than what you were understanding it earlier. So definitely, it's okay. We don't really need to do programming here. Dear sir, where will you be sharing these details? Okay, I'll be sharing the details on the WhatsApp group. Like, we all are there in the WhatsApp group, so I can share the URLs and I'll post it there. Okay, so no problem. I can do that. Maybe after the session is over, I'll be posting a few links so you can go through that. Okay. Okay, somebody is asking to add the number, but maybe I can't do that. That Sweta ma'am can help you on that. All right, further moving. Uh, Now that we talk about intelligence, okay, we need to talk about a certain factors of intelligence. Okay, so intelligence has its own factors, which includes like reasoning, learning, perception, problem solving, linguistic intelligence. Okay, so we are very well versed about these terms. It's not something which is new to us. We know what is reasoning. Okay, we know what is learning. We know what is a perception. Okay, so these are the several factors which are a part of intelligence. So we need to consider them while the machine is getting developed. Okay, so we are trying to make the machine intelligence. So we need to incorporate reasoning into the machine. We need to incorporate learning. So we have got machine learning for that. we need to incorporate perception. So we do have a neural network to clear the perception part of the machine. A problem solving. So there are tons and tons of algorithms which are there for problem solving, and linguistic intelligence, which gives you an understanding of what the input comes in, the output goes out. Okay, so we're definitely going to discuss. So now I'm going to share you something, and I want your response on that. There's an image which I'm going to share with you, and you will tell me what is it. Can you see an image? And can you tell me whose image is this? Somebody's writing it is SRK. Salman and Shahrukh, Salman plus Shahrukh. Okay, partial Salman, partial Shahrukh. Okay, two actors are morphed. Yeah. So we call this as image morphing technique. We all know. Uh, how many of you have used that face app? Oh, somebody's writing LHS and RHS. Okay, I remember my mathematics, school mathematics, LHS and RHS, when we had to compare. If Salman and Shahrukh had a kid, this would have looked like. Okay, okay, that's great. A lovely answer. So, so it's a morphed image. So, have we learned about the Face app? The app which was there in market a few months back, and people have started sharing their old pictures, like they've clicked the picture and the older version, like how you will look after 30 years. Do you remember anybody? Yeah, there was it was there in market. Face app, like everyone is doing that. Uh, so another game what Mark Zuckerberg did, he asked people to upload the 10 years difference images, like 10 year before and 10 year after images. Do you remember that? Do you know what happened? Yeah, 10-year challenge. There was a 10-year challenge. Do you know what happened? Facebook was training its own algorithm. And we were just enjoying that 10-year challenge, right? Yes, they were helping machines to learn the 10-year challenge. They were helping machines to learn how you look earlier and how you look now. Okay, yeah, as a child or an adult, not necessarily. In a 10-year span, you could be an adult only possible. If you are 40, then definitely 10 years before you'll be 30 and then 40. So it's just a 10-year challenge to just see the difference and train the machine. Same happened with the Face app. Face app, how did it work? It morphed the image. The Face app morphed your image and make you look older. You enjoyed. Everyone, most of us have used it. That's okay. Like that was one of the example of AI which was there in market. Of course, they collected a lot of data and for their own purpose, for whatsoever reason. But that, okay, somebody's saying that so we are experiencing very bad audibility. Okay, I mean like you're not able to hear me proper. I don't know today. In fact, the sound is perfect today. Yeah, voice is. I'll try to be a little more louder, and I'll try to be a little more louder so that yeah, maximum people have got sound clear. If you can please rejoin the session, so that might happen. I faced the same issue yesterday that I had to rejoin the session and it worked well.
So I think the
Right.
voice is clear. Only
Evening,
a little bit noise, Saurabh.
human and machine
There is a
intelligence
little bit
when we
background
talk
noise.
about. So yesterday I was talking to you about the human intelligence and about the machine intelligence. So humans perceive by patterns, whereas the machines perceive by set of rules on the data. Okay, so there is something which is known as heuristic, which I'll be talking further. Humans store and recall information by patterns, while machines do it by searching algorithms. So a thin line of difference I'm trying to draw. humans can figure out the complete object even if some part of it is missing or distorted, whereas the machines cannot do it correctly. So that happens. Do you agree to these points? Do you agree? I don't know how many of you really agree to these points, but yeah. Somebody's written there are apps for speech to text. Yes, they are a part of AI. That's a part of speech recognition. All right, good, fair enough. Now, further, now AI has its own different subparts, like the expert systems to fuzzy logic to robotics and to NLP and the neural networks. So I'm trying to discuss these parts today with you all. All right. So before we go, I've got a small little movie clip to show you. I'll be just playing it so that you can just enjoy. Just see this. This is one of the movie clip. Okay. Yes, it is Die Hard. So what's happening here in this movie? They have given them a task. A machine is giving you a task, okay, and that this is one of the finest problem in AI which they have used here. We call it as a water jug problem. Okay, I'll describe the problem. Okay, this is just a scene to give you an idea. Okay, so they'll be solving the problem, and once the problem is solved, the machine accepts that signal and then acts accordingly. So they're trying to detonate the bomb, and so that works. So whatever. So the point is to give you an idea. They have picked up a finest example of the water jet problem. Now, what is the water jet problem? I'll explain you in an Indian version of water jet problem. Okay, so water jet problem actually is that you've got two different jugs of two different sizes, and if it has got an uneven level of water, and then you're trying to do two things: either make the level equal, or you're trying to make the quantity of the water equal by pouring water from here to there and there to here. So this is an example which we do in our lives. How many of you have drank tea, because it's a lovely monsoon period and I always talk about food a lot. But yeah, so if you've seen that cutting chai, it's a cutting chai problem actually. So you're trying to make chai as two equal halves. एक में से दो करना मतलब half half करके. So that's a problem, you know. You keep pouring it a little bit there. In AI, that's a problem. Okay, so how do you do it? How do you make two equal halves of a tea? Just tell me like your way, your version of it, so that we can understand what machine is actually doing there. एक full cup tea आपको दी गई and you have to make it half. How do you do it? Cutting chai. Somebody's writing, you see the level. Well, you try to pour it from one glass to another and you check it, then you pour it, and somebody's like drinking half. Okay, but then again, you'll not be able to make it two equal halves. You don't know how much half is drank. Trial and error, comparing levels. Yes, pour the half into another cup, yeah, and then you measure, you pour it and you measure, ye barabar ho gaya. So generally we have got the transparent classes, so that hum usko aise barabar rakh ke dekhte, barabar ho gaya, thoda idhar zyada thoda idhar zyada. So that's what is happening. So this is one of the problem which is a part of AI. It's always a water check problem where you're trying to keep the two levels correct. So you see it by computer vision, or maybe by whatever metric you want to measure it. So use the measurement metric. You use your own set of rules and you transfer from one to another, not to one. So that is a trial and error. You keep trying one this way, that way, this way, that way. So similar thing is happening in this scenario of the movie. Somebody's writing measure the volume of the cup, and once you know the volume, which is identical cups, then program the machine to dispense. All right, possible. So that's what machine is doing. But I asked what you will do. So because what you will do is what the answer of your machine is going to be. Okay. So anyway, so this is, I'll just finish this. Interesting. Okay. So that was just a small little movie clip to keep you a little more engaged. Okay, so we're going to talk about heuristics after that. Now, what's happening here in heuristic? Heuristic is a way of finding different solutions. Okay, so what human does, but we can solve the same problem using different set of solutions. Now, what just happened here was one of the solution, but I just asked you कि अगर आपको एक टी कप को equal halves में divide करना है, so you give your own set of solutions. So that exactly happens. Everyone gives its own set of solutions. Somebody might give a solution that you can use a spoon and keep pouring from one to another. Somebody might say you just pour it. Somebody said you can drink it. So there could be different solutions, but the problem remains the same. Okay, the outcome remains the same, but you solve it differently. Are you getting it? So in heuristic, what happens? It's a part where we try to solve different. We try to solve the same problem in a different way and try to get different outcomes. So that what happens in this scenario is you try to get a faster outcome. Okay, so it involves, as the definition says, involving or serving as an aid to learning, discovery, or problem solving by experimental, especially trial and error methods. Okay, so what we create by heuristic is we create our own patterns. I call heuristic as a pattern base because every person is creating its own pattern of solving the same problem. It's a practical method for finding a solution that is not guaranteed to be optimal, of course, yes, because the solution which you have given could not be always optimal, but that is sufficient for the immediate goals. Okay, at least the purpose is suffice कि काम हो गया. जरूरी नहीं है कि आपका जो सोल्यूशन है वो बिल्कुल ही बेस्ट होगा. जरूरी नहीं है कि कोई दूसरा सोल्यूशन नहीं हो सकता, but at least your work is happening. So a typical problem where the heuristics are applied to find an acceptable solutions quickly is, for example, vehicle routing, where the objective is to find the routes for one of the more vehicles visiting a number of locations. For example, if it's a smart car and the vehicle is maybe moving from one place to another, it is trying to find the shortest path. So you find the shortest path. That happens with the Google Maps. Most of us use Google Maps, right? What Google Maps does, it gives you shortest path. How it gives you a shortest path? By heuristics. It sees whichever the possible probable option available and give you that. Not always that it is an optimal solution. Not always. It could be possibly one of the longest solution. At least you wanted to reach somewhere. It may be maybe you will be able to reach from place A to B. Not necessarily that you will reach from place A to B in a stipulated period of time. At times, the path which is shown to you might take a longer turnaround time, but at least that path is workable. It is highly possible. So Google Maps does that. Any errors have you faced while using Google Maps? If you can come up with, most of us has used Google Maps. So any errors have you faced? Somebody is asking, where are the chats? Is there any other? No, no, this is the only chat option where you've written the message. Okay, location is detected. Any problems? Okay, construction work is not updated in Google Maps. Yes. Then doesn't tell us whether to go above or under the bridge. Biggest problem, but they have solved it now. Okay, continuous redirecting, incorrect traffic signs, road closures, internal roads. My God, so many problems people have got. Okay, incorrect bookmarks at times. Sometimes there are wrong routes. Traffic is not determined. Do you know this famous experiment which just happened a few months back? A guy, what he did, this guy is got like hundreds of cell phones, kept them in one cart, kept the GPS location on, and he tried to roll it. Yes, 100 mobile phones in a wagon, and he tried to fool Google Map. So, do you understand how Google Maps works really? It Yeah, in Germany. Perfect, perfect. So you all know this news. It's pretty famous. So, do you know how Google Map really works? It takes location from your cell phones. It So Google Maps works for the people by the people. That's what I always call. So, so Google Maps plus gyroscope will guide properly. Some devices won't. Mhm. Gyro is generally used for an aircraft. Okay, so not always for the but yeah, if you would know, Google Earth has got the paid service. If that paid service of Google, if you are using, you will get an accuracy. So the Google Maps, the free version, what you and I are using, okay, that's for the people by the people. It's that it works on that philosophy. It takes data from you. It works best from you with your own data. But yeah, Google does have another service which is a paid one. Similar to that, Here Maps, they offer the service. Earlier, Nokia phones used to have that Here Maps service instead of Google Maps, and that service worked fundamentally superb. Are you getting it? So, if you have happened to use create your own algorithms, for example, if you see Ola and Uber, if you know, Uber has started creating their own maps. Earlier, Uber used to take service from the Google, but then now they have started creating their own maps so that they have their own routes map, their own way of understanding the traffic and everything. Are you getting it? That's the reason Uber maps are more accurate. I wouldn't say that because, again, in reality, things may go wrong. Because Uber maps are accurate to an extent, yes. At least it shows the direction where to reach. But there is a problem here when understanding the traffic. Uber maps don't really work correctly on that. That's my personal understanding while using Uber. So it is very bad in understanding the traffic. Why? Because there are no so many Uber cabs which are running around in a city which can give you an accurate data to calculate the traffic. But yeah, at least it will give you an exact roadmap, especially whether you have to. And this is always the problem. This is always the problem, that whether you have to go below the bridge or above the bridge, especially in a metro like Mumbai. Yes, it is the biggest problem. Okay, all right. Let's go further. Okay, so I have something placed in front of you. What do you see? Tell me, what do you see? Since we are talking about heuristics, we're talking about human brain, how it works, we're talking about patterns, a plus sign, crossroads, hell signboard, cross, plus sign, cross four squares, pluses, squares, plus sign, four square, five squares and a plus, four square in a square, hell sign. So many answers. Ludo board, somebody. Okay, I love this Ludo board answer. Somebody is totally different. Nine small squares in a large square. But I still go for a Ludo board. Mukulji, lovely. So somebody's writing, it's an image. Somebody's writing no chat window. No, you've written in the same chat window, sir. Five squares, four gray in a bigger square. Box divided into equal square. Okay, it's a cross. Great. So doctor's briefcase. Okay, I like such answers. They're out of the box. Okay, red cross with a color. Flag of some country. Here, I didn't get this. I didn't get this. Okay, white red cross. Okay, I can't see red. Okay, red cross has to be red. This is not red. Okay, but anyway, now you try. Now you see what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, let me just help you here. This is not what you wrote. Can you see there are this is a cross junction. There are four buildings, okay, and there is a road, and it's a cross junction where the traffic passes. This is a sign, especially this is a diagram of Tokyo crossroad, or maybe a New York crossroad, if you see online pictures, or maybe if you can see, ट्राई टू विजुअलाइज देयर आर बिल्डिंग्स. वो जो ग्रे एरिया है ना, वो बिल्डिंग्स है और बीच में रोड है. कैन यू सी दैट? व्हाट डू यू थिंक? कैन यू सी दैट? Yes, right, Mukulji? Yeah, lovely. Yes, we will. Right. Nikhil, Supriya, everyone is saying, yeah. As for the architect design, yes, it is. I actually picked up that way. Do you know that? Now, if I say I was bluffing, I was actually bluffing. But that's not I really meant. It just came to my mind and I just said, I don't know what this picture is. But the point here is you started visualizing. Well, how did this happen? I'm playing with your mind? No, I'm not playing with your mind. I just gave uh, it's a table jo ulta pada hai. Okay. So this is just trying to give you some input. So this exactly happens with machines. Exactly. You give some input to a machine, it starts understanding that way. Okay. So the patterns are created that way. Are you getting it? This is how it's not playing with the mind, it's giving input to a machine. So maybe your mind for now is trying to calculate and understand, and then I've give some inputs. Yeah, coloring the neurons by you. Okay, yes. So maybe this exactly works with machines also. All right. So this is what a pattern. Earlier, I showed you an image, a morphed image of Shah Rukh and Salman. Okay, so it has a combination of two images. What if I would have said that's Arnold Schwarzenegger 30 years back? You would have started thinking that way. Oh, that was Arnold Schwarzenegger 30 years back, possibly. So why? Because when the inputs are received, our neurons work that way. I'll come to the neuron. Why? Good that you've pointed out. I'll come to that part and I'll explain you. Okay, so now there is something which is known as the fuzzy logic. So we recognize an illusionary bright cross, but technically there is no cross. Only four squares within a square. Possible. And I, in fact, bluffed by saying there are four buildings. Okay, the corners of four buildings, and then there is a cross. Such a square exists only in our brain and not on the screen. It only existed in our brain. How? Because of the fuzzy logic. The real-time interaction of millions of neurons in our brain is the actual cause behind this entire estimation. So our brain, it works on the fuzzy situation. All right. Okay. So the asynchronous, non-linear, massively parallel distributed neuron performs such recognition under the uncertainty. So we reason something with the vague concepts, beliefs, estimates, guesses. You call them. You give more names to it. Give. This is inexactness, which we call as a fuzzy. It is not something which is exact. It's it is something which is between that exact. So how the fuzzy logic actually works? It is between that yes and it is between that no. How many of us really believe that there are two conditions which exist, either yes or no, either true or false? How many of us believe? Is there any other condition which is really between yes and no? Do you believe at least yes and no exist? Do you believe there is one and zero? Do you believe there is true and false? There is always an opposite to everything. Do you believe this? Somebody is writing maybe. What is maybe? There is always a gray area. Okay, Akash, what is that gray area? Can you tell me? Others are saying yes. A lot of people are saying yes. Dilemmas. Okay. What is this gray area? I want to. I like that term. So there's a lot of yes coming, saying yeah. Gray area means that is not clear. Okay. Ethical dilemma. Yes and no are the obvious answers. Anything between is between into it is a fuzzy logic. Maybe the situation based. Yeah. So Anirudh said that, and which is right. Yes and no are the obvious answers. Yeah. But anything in between is a fuzzy logic. Okay. Not being sure about yes or no. Yes, everything has an opposite. Yeah, true. Now, the interesting fact, you know what? Yes and no, true and false, all these opposites, these bivalent logics does not really exist. Do you know that? They never exist. Yes, never exist. No, never exist. The only thing which exists is a fuzzy situation. I don't know how many of you agree to my statement. It's neither here nor there. How many of you agree to this statement? Whether yes exists, no exists, or like as I said, it doesn't exist. ऐसा कुछ है ही नहीं. Yes, no है ही नहीं. True, false है ही नहीं. जो भी है उसके बीच में है. You know why? I'll tell you why. When we say yes and when we say no, when we say yes and when we say no, our yes and no has a probability of an occurrence of a truth value. So when I agree to something or when I disagree to something, that time I agree to that because of certain set of possibilities which are more towards it. All right, somebody has written, Kapoorji has written 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, and that is true. I'll answer this. 2 plus 2 is equal to 4 is because you have learned it that way. I have learned different mathematics. So my mathematics says 2 plus 2 is equal to 3 because my mathematics, when I've learned it 1, 2, 4, 5, and then 3, and then 6, and then 20, and then 30. It could have been some jumbled up. And my mathematics tells me that when I add 2 plus 2, it has to be 3. Possibly. So it totally depends upon what we have learned. The mathematics, what we have learned, the rules are not universally correct. that is very limited. So my mentor taught me, I remember saying him always that the mathematical rule set, they are only limited to our planet, or to a limited scope rather. It is, if you go out of it, the rule sets changes. So, all right, somebody's writing there is 0 in 4. Yes, maybe to someone, no, maybe. Okay, fine. Yes, for alien it would be different. We don't know aliens. I'm not talking about aliens. Okay, let me explain you what I'm trying to say. Very simple example. Let me explain you. Uh, do we know a triangle? Triangle has got 3 angles. So any, by definition, if we see any object with 3 different angles is considered to be a triangle. Do you agree to this statement? Yes or no? An object with 3 angles. Yes, it's a simple definition of a triangle. All right. Now, if you add, or if you sum up all the 3 angles of a triangle, we get it a particular degree. What is it? 180? Oh, it's not 360, somebody wrote. It's 180. This is something basic. Okay. Now, now try to imagine. Okay, I'm going to make you imagine something. Imagine this triangle, which is having 180 degrees of the total sum up. Now, I'm drawing this triangle on an entire, you can say, ICAI's building. Will the degrees of that angle will change? Yes or no? It will not, right? No, there are a lot of no. Yes, it won't change. All right. Now, imagine I'm drawing the same triangle on an entire Mumbai city. So, will it change the degree? No, it will not. All right. Now I'm drawing this triangle on a planet Earth, complete planet Earth. I'm drawing the same triangle. What do you think? Now the catch is when you are doing so, the earth is not flat. Remember, the earth is not flat. When you're drawing a triangle on an entire planet, somewhere the edges are going to move away from each other. Somebody's writing with the straight lines, it won't change. But I will draw a straight line on a planet Earth. Sir Alan Turing wanted to, prove this, that whether the 2 straight lines meet each other. Beg your pardon, there is an azan going on, so you might get the voice. So please hold on for that moment. So I've got a beautiful masjid behind my place, so you might be able to hear a loud azan. So for 2 minutes, I'll just mute my mic if required. Yes, I have muted the audio. Just a moment, please. All right, I'm sorry I just missed on the WhatsApp messages because I was reading the questions on the chat window here. So I'll pay attention to both. Don't worry. I'll try to answer maximum possible. Sorry for those who messaged in WhatsApp and I missed it. Okay, I'll, I just saw. I just happened to see my WhatsApp. There are a lot of messages, so I'll try and incorporate. Okay, so somebody is writing, we are applying to the 2D principle to the 3D space. Yes, that's a smart answer. So the scenario here is if you try to try to put this entire triangle, and if you go by just by the definition of triangle, which needs to have like three different angles, okay, and these angles are always 180 if you sum it up. If you just go by this definition, the definition might change. Not always you're gonna have the straight line. Not always you're gonna have the same 180 sum up of the angles, because it is going to expand at some extent. So are you getting it? So maybe this is a possibility. All right, coming back. Now there is no background sound, so it's gone. All right. So the point here is, what I'm trying to explain you is about a fuzzy logic, that it is a logic which stays between yes and stays between the no. It stays in between. We always have that. Our neurons, which are there, we've got like 100 billion of neurons in our head. Now, what these neurons does, we are accepting constant signals. I'll give you an example. Currently, our neurons are accepting signals. Right now, you're listening to me, so there's a voice signal. You're looking at the screen, so the perception is happening via vision. There are a lot more other things happening around you in your environment. But what you are trying to do, you're trying to, you're trying to get away with those disturbances or the noise, whatever you want to term it as, and you are trying to focus on one thing, that's listening and looking at the screen so that you can learn. So what happens, the brain will always accept. So our body has got the power to consume a lot of data from the environment. Now this consumption is happening with the help of the senses we've got like 5 different senses. So we are consuming the data. The brain is consuming the data, maybe from the eyes, from the touch, from the taste, from the smell. So we're consuming the data and it's getting processed in our brain. So the neurons which in our brain are actually receiving from the data from all the receptors, but they're trying to ignore a certain set of receptors unless you focus on one. Unless you focus on one, what happens? The others are filtered out, and the more concentration goes on that. Like if I say you're trying to focus right now on your left cheek, you're trying to focus on your left cheek because I just said that. And now what's happening? You're trying to get some sensation on your left cheek, possibly. So this can happen. Why? Because our focus gets diverted. So what happens in our this entire idea was being explained by McCulloch and Pitt when they created a first artificial neuron. And when they created a first artificial neuron with the help of an XOR gate, they had something which is known as a threshold. A threshold is a value which is making you separate from your own. It is setting a rule set for you. It is trying to create a filter for you and enhance your focus. So the theta, in science, what we call that as a theta, as a threshold, which is added to our brain, to our neural network rather, which is creating a filter so that we focus on one thing. Okay, that's a bit of science. All right. Now, I've got an example to explain you something. So, if you can see on the screen, now this is an example. For example, you are sitting in a room with an air condition, and now you are trying to control the temperature using that AC which is there in your room. Now, according to the room temperature and according to the target temperature, it will work automatically. So, if your air conditioning system is AI powered, something which works with fuzzy logic, it'll go this way. Now, I have a chart placed in front of you where it says the room temperature by the target. Now it starts from the very cold to the very hot. So very cold, and then warm and hot and very hot. So the room temperature could be very cold, or the target temperature where we want to meet could be that. So if the room temperature and the target temperature is the same in the conditions, if you say very cold, there would be no change. If the room temperature and the target changes, for example, the room temperature is cold and the target, what you're trying to meet, that's very cold, then what it will does, it is going to increase the cooling effect. It will cool it so that it can reach to the very cold situation. If there is vice versa, it'll try to heat so that it reaches to the situation. Are you getting it? So what's happening in this situation? It is trying to meet the requirement. A small set of explanation of the fuzzy. Are you getting it? All right. Let me give you one more example, so which will help you understand what exactly happens with humans. I'll give you an example of that. Now, this was an example of a machine. What happens in a machine? How an air condition works. In a human scenario, for example, you are trying to sip a cup of coffee. So the first sip of your coffee is always much hotter than the second and the third and the last one. Is it always because the coffee is now getting colder? Not always. It's because you're getting adapted. The first sip when you take, at that moment you might feel it's hot, but then slowly you start adapting to it. Let's say another example. If you're jumping into an ice cold water. Okay, you're up for swimming, you're jumping into an ice cold water. For the first time, you'll feel it's pretty cold. But once you jump in, the body adjusts to that, and after a point, you feel it's okay. Does that happen? Am I right? What do you think? Our body adjusts, right? Yes, exactly. So by if that happens, that's because our threshold is changing. So the neurons are changing our threshold peak. The threshold peak earlier was if I touch a particular temperature of a water, I'm gonna feel cold. But as in I train my brain that it's okay, I'm gonna enjoy this, I'm gonna jump into the cold water. Slowly, my brain is gonna get trained, my neurons are gonna get trained, and my threshold will go a little higher. So now I can somewhere enjoy that water. So it's all the game of the threshold. Similar happens in the machines when they learn and the threshold changes. They adapt. So we'll be learning about that further ahead. Now there comes another scenario of expert systems. So, do you know anything about an expert system? What do you think? Somebody is asking me the question: how will the AC know the room temperature? That's with the help of sensors. There are sensors by which you understand the temperature. It's electronics behind. The sensor gives an input. A system which claims to think and like an expert minus emotions. Okay. Uh, Arpita ji is writing IoT. Oh yeah, you can call it as a part of IoT, but actually it's pure electronics. So the sensor is a part of electronics. That's it. Expert system is one which has programming done with a lot of experts and can give reply to the situation based on the programs given an expert. Okay. Oh, Sohamji is writing my wife. I don't know in what context, but yeah, she would be an expert. Like an Arduino device. Arduino is an IoT. Okay, that's a different question. Don't mix it. That I simply asked a question. I was answering Arpita's question, which was different. So don't mix that. My question is, what's an expert system according to you? Somebody is answered about my wife. Okay, I like that answer. Possibly. Example: your online health assessment. Uh, like you type symptoms and you get a problem type. Okay, yes. Online, there are apps. There are doctor apps. Okay, you're trying to say that. Kushbu Jain. That could be. Okay. Any other answers? Any other answers? A system made by an expert that can be used by anyone. Google is an example of an expert system. Siri or Alexa, okay. Physio cybernetics AI are installed in an airplane, okay, yes. Which provide advice based on the knowledge, yes. Solves on the basis of set parameters, okay. Eliminates possibilities against probabilities, okay. An expert system helps a layman get a views on an expert through an expert system. Okay. Okay. Simulators, system having solutions. All right, good answers. I'll be explaining this when we'll be learning decision support system. But yeah, expert system as we have I have also shown a diagrammatical representation wherein a human expert and a knowledge engineer, and then they create a knowledge space, and there comes an inference engine, and there are user interface which a user is using it. So that happens. So it's a combination of that. Like for example, there is a doctor's app. The example is straight away taken. The doctor is giving an expert advice on the disease. So a human interrogator, the user who's questioning that. Okay, for example, a user says, I've got a temperature. I've got something. Cough. I've got this. I've got that. What could be the possibilities of my health? And the knowledge engineer has engineered the input of an expert system into a knowledge phase and an inference engine which is answering that. So yeah, expert system is a system like that. So it gives you an AI based outcome. Similar happens with your so now what do you say, Google or Alexa? They are beyond the expert systems. They are different. They have been configured and coded in a very different way. Okay, so an expert system can advise, assist in decision making, demonstrating, deriving a solution, explaining, interpreting the inputs, and much more. All right, so here comes an example. Somebody wrote about Alexa. So yeah, somebody is writing Arogya Setu. Oh, sorry, I don't know Arogya Setu. I don't want to comment on that. I have no idea how Arogya Setu is working. So there are a lot of memes in the market, but I don't know. Okay, expert system has got the knowledge from an expert stored in its knowledge and knowledge base. An expert system can be made available 24 by 7. Yeah, it's a machine can be available 24 by 7. Is every app we use is an expert system? No, not always. Not always. For example, your basic calculator app, that's not an expert system. Okay, it's simply calculating for you. You can't call it as an expert system. So what happens in Alexa? Here is an example. So Alexa is doing a certain set of you can say functions while giving you an answer. So we call that as natural language processing. You give input to Alexa. Hey Alexa, I want to turn off my TV. Hey Alexa, please turn on the fan, turn off the fan, whatever. What happens there is first thing it does is lexical analysis. So it will try to understand your words. Okay, then there are syntactic analysis. Your words and your syntax. What you said, all the words are broken, and then the grammar is adjusted, and each and every word has got a syntactic meaning that's been derived. That's a second part, which is semantic analysis, the meaning from the word to be derived, and then disclosure integration, wherein the app, where your Alexa is now getting some outcome of the lexical, syntactic, and semantics, and now it is trying to integrate all of that and trying to perform a task, and then it does a pragmatic analysis means a real world scenario analysis, like what you said. For example, the question here to an Alexa is, how do I get rid of a dead body? So Alexa will say, call the police. So uh, there could be a possibility Alexa might have told you, how do I get rid of this body? So there could be multiple possibilities. Alexa might have said, okay, go dispose the body. If you want to get rid of it, go and throw it off. So that's not the real answer. In a real world answer, the answer is different. You need to call the police, because that's pragmatic analysis. Are you getting it? So looking at the real world scenario, the outputs are being derived. So yeah, Alexa works that way. Is a financial banking ERP having an expert system? Yes, it does. Is income tax return filing software an expert system? Now, I don't know what software you're talking about, but no, I don't think so. That's not an expert system. That's just a software. But yeah, ERPs are generally, yes, ERPs are having an expert system in them. Not all the ERPs, depending upon what ERP is being configured. So they do have. MG car, MG Hector. Yes, definitely. They do have. I've read about it. I don't have an MG Hector car, but yeah, I've read about it. It does. Windman is a sort of an expert system. Uh, I won't be commenting because I've not used it. Any questions? All right, let's go further. And meanwhile, I'll also check the WhatsApp if there are any posting on WhatsApp. So, oops. Okay. External knowledge to neurons take decision and futuristic. Yes, true. So there were a lot of messages, but I just answered few. Anyway, moving further, artificial neural networks. Now, can you explain this analysis again? Okay, I can. Accounting apps are expert systems. Accounting apps could be, not all, not all. It could be. All right, I'll explain that. A quick explaining back again that has been asked for. So, lexical analysis, syntactical analysis, semantic analysis, these are the part where Alexa tries to take the input, understand the word, try to make the meaning out of the word, and then finds the best solution and tries to fit the best possible pragmatic solution, which is the real world acceptable solution, and give you an outcome. In short, so that's what Alexa is doing. All right. So I hope in a few lines you can understand what happens here inside, that how Alexa is working and how it has been able to understand all the set of inputs and give the outputs is because of the artificial neural network situation. Now artificial neural networks are an entire network which is mapped from the human brain, okay, where there are inputs, then there is an output, and there is a hidden layer. So now on the right hand side, if you see, it's an example of an actual biological neuron. Now, what happens in this biological neuron? There are inputs, there are outputs, there are dendrites, and there are axons. Now, what is axons, dendrites, and there's a nucleus. So, what's happening here? Let me point the laser. So, what's happening here is that these dendrites, and you've got the axons, and they're here. You've got the nucleus. So the inputs are coming and the nucleus is processing. And after the processing, it's going further and the entire network is connected from one neuron to another to another. So entire nerve impulse is working. So neural network in our brain is constantly connected and it's working from one neuron to another to another. So what's happening? They tried to map an artificial neural network. So McCulloch and Pitts, they came up with the XOR gate, okay, to understand the entire input, give an entire working workaround on that input. The hidden layer is where the workaround happens and the output comes in. For example, let me give you an example to make you understand the fuzzy logic and the neural network, how they work. The situation and the appropriate answer, how does it end? Okay, if I'll give you another example. So this example will also answer your question. Okay, Mr. Shubham, I guess. So you'll be able to understand. Okay, imagine there is a system which is trying to figure out the two odds. For example, if I asked you a question, you need to tell me uh, whether a particular person is tall and whether a particular person is short. How do you identify a person to be tall and short? How do you identify? Tell me. So I'll tell you with the help of neural networks how it is working. If I ask you a question that tell me somebody who is tall and somebody who is short, how do you identify? Comparing the average heights. Okay, I'll twist the question. Now I'm twisting the question. My question is the same, but I'm twisting it. Somebody with the 6 feet height, somebody with a 6 feet height, will you call that person tall? Above 6 feet is tall, below 5 feet is short. Harshvardhan is writing, okay. 6 feet is tall, yes. 5 feet. If Indian, yeah, okay. What if the person is Australian? 6 feet height in Australia? 6 feet height in Australia? It's average? Yeah, because maximum people are tall. Okay, a basketball player, 6 feet height. Basketball player, if my height is 7 feet, I would not find a 6 foot person tall. Yeah, Australia it would increase 6.3 depending upon the geographical location. Okay, about China, Mongolian race, the Chinese race, for them 5 feet is tall. Why? Because you'll feel that way, right? Why? Because the definition of being tall, the definition of being short varies depending upon various factors. A tall for women and men, if you see, that is also different. So, but still we call somebody is tall, somebody is short. So what happens here in the neural network, just imagine this layer, the input layer, for example, the first input layer is taking the inputs of a height which is like 6 feet. This is 5.5 feet. This is 5 feet, or maybe this is 5 feet and this is 4 feet. Then we divide it. Maybe you can say Chinese, an African, an Indian, and an Australian. So according to the input, if the input is 6 feet, whether the person is Chinese, whether the person is Australian, whether the person is Indian, whether the person is an African, depending upon how the ethnicity of the person, it'll try to figure out. Then whether the person is a male or a female, depending upon that. Then finally you come to a conclusion. So what's happening? You have set of factors concluding something. This is happening in artificial neural network. Are you getting it? So artificial neural networks, they work in identifying these scenarios. Are you getting it? Moving further, I hope you've understood till now. Now, there is another thing which we need to learn is about machine learning. Try to understand this. Machine learning, in short, I would say, learning is a practice where you might think you're trying to increase your knowledge base, you're trying to increase your information base, or you're trying to increase your database. So in short, I always call learning is nothing but adding more to your database. Do you agree? If I say this definition, do you agree? Learning is all about adding more to your database. Yeah. So in the machine learning, if I say when the machine is learning, it is adding more and more to its own database. So what machine is doing, a machine learning is an approach of artificial intelligence where the old data is fed to these models from the past experiences. So data is fed and the machine is learning. These experiences are used to train the AI models for a specific set of tasks. More the training data, more the accuracy. The best part of machine learning models is artificial intelligence is that these models do not necessarily requires a large sum of data, so therefore less complicated problems can be solved in short span of time. But then if the complexity of the problem increases, we need to have more set of data to solve it. Now, machine learning is divided into two different parts, primarily into two different parts, rather, I would say. One is supervised, another is unsupervised, and the third, and then there are other several machine learning algorithms, is the reinforcement learning. So now I'm going to explain you the machine learning quickly, how these differentiates. Just imagine there is a big basket full of balls. Now, this big basket, which is there, it consists of three color balls. One is red, another is green, then is blue. So RBG, red, green, and blue. A big basket is full of that. Now, I am having another three empty baskets. One basket is labeled as red, another is labeled as green, another is labeled as blue. So what I am doing here is I'm just putting my hand in one of the big basket where all the three colored balls are there. I identify first ball, which is green, I'll put it into green box. I identify another, which is red, I put it into the red. I identify another, it could be blue, it goes into blue. So similarly, what I am doing is my set of inputs are defined, my set of outputs are defined. I'm just picking up and putting it. So what's happening, I'm learning that now there are 10 blue balls, there are 10 green balls, there are 5 red balls. After 5 minutes, I identified that now the red balls have increased to 20, the blue balls have increased to 25, the green balls have increased to 35. Why? Because the inputs keep coming, I kept identifying, and the value and the variations keeps happening. This kind of learning, when the input is fixed and the output is fixed. Okay, in this scenario, when the input scenarios are limited in a scope, we call this as a supervised learning. The learning is happening in a supervised scenario when the inputs are fixed and the outputs are fixed. Are you getting it? You got this much? Yes? No? Yes. Okay. Lovely. A lot of yeses. Now, try to understand. If I pulled my hand in that big basket which is having colorful balls, instead of red, green, and blue, this time I got a white ball. What will I do if I got a different color ball? Instead of there is, because I have only three baskets which are labeled as red, green, and blue, but now I have got a ball which is colored as white. What will I do now? What do you think I should be doing? Leave the ball, put it back? It means ignore it. Why? So it's like I'm saying there is a new learning which is coming. You want to ignore that learning? Create another basket. Yes, Navanji is saying create another basket. Very nice. You will create another basket. Means you have a limited knowledge. Now the knowledge is increasing. In a dynamic scenario, it could be possible that you don't know what's coming in. It could be a gray ball, it could be a purple ball, it could be some yellow ball. There could be different balls. What you are going to do is you are going to create another scenarios for that. You'll be creating different set of scenarios. What are you doing actually? You're trying to create a separate clusters. Earlier, what happened in supervised learning, you simply classified. You classified three color balls, right? And you have classified them red, blue, green, khatam. Red आया तो red में, blue आया तो blue में, green आया तो green में. So you classified that. But now that you have got different color balls, you are creating its own set of cluster. Have you ever noticed when you went to the college for the first time? It was, just imagine, it was your first day in your college, and you found a place and you sat with somebody. You happen to reach a classroom, and the classroom is full of people, and you identified one of the place, and maybe you identified a group in a day or two, and then you started being with them. Does that happen? We try to be with our kind of people, or maybe if you are in a meeting, a group meeting, or maybe in a group seminar or a webinar somewhere, you try to connect to your set of people, right? You always try to be with your own set. Why? Because that's what clustering is all about. Same happens with machines. When machine learning algorithms are working, okay, and if it is an unsupervised scenario, it creates its own set of clusters based on its own parameters. If my parameter would have been color, then every time I would get a white ball, I create another cluster of the white ball and keep it aside. This exactly happens. For example, you are trying to find out pebbles on a seashore. You're enjoying on a Juhu beach or any seashore. When you see the pebbles, you just pick them up and then you classify them and you cluster them. Actually, you don't classify, you cluster them, right? You might find a black one separate and a white one separate. You might do a gray one separate. What your brain is doing at that time, it's clustering. That is unsupervised learning example. Depending upon the dynamic scenarios, you are taking decisions. Are you getting it? I hope supervised and unsupervised is clear. Yes, no, any questions so far? Clear. Okay. Okay, somebody is writing what is only why three baskets? Yeah, because in the first one it was supervised learning, so there is only scope of that much. Can you please tell the full form of an artificial neural network? That's a full form. It makes sense till now. All right. Now let's go further. Now reinforcement learning. There's another form of learning, which is reinforcement learning. Uh, Now, what happens in the reinforcement learning here? You learn from the set of experience. Okay, it's a strategy which is based on the observations of the scenarios, and with those set of experiences you learn. So what happens here is this is completely dynamic. It could have worked in one direction. It could be possible, for example, till now I was keeping the clusters of the white balls separate, blue balls separate, green balls separate, but that after learning I understood that what if my basket is full, then what should I do? If my basket is full of white balls, but there is a lot of space in another basket which is of blue balls, what should I do? I'll start transferring it to blue balls. Why? Because that's how I have learned. That's what my machine has been trained for. That's what I've seen in other examples where the space management is happening. So probably my machine starts working that way. That's reinforcement learning. When it learns from an example, from an experience, are you getting it? How would a machine know the criteria of clustering in unsupervised learning? I'll explain you that how the clustering works. So your answer, you will get your answer on that. So here you go. I'll come to the deep learning later. First, let me explain you how this clustering and classification, how this is working in machines. Okay, all right. There is a method which is known as support vector machine. Okay, a support vector machine is an algorithm which is used for classification in a supervised learning algorithm. It does classification of the inputs received on the basis of the rule set. It also works on regression problems. We'll not discuss the regression problems for now. I'm showing you an image. Let me show you an image. What do you see in this image? What do you see in this image? Curve fitting. Lines are named as ABC. Okay, now I'll tell you some circles and stars. I'll tell you what are these circles and what are these stars. Okay, I'll tell you. Now, just see in this particular image, what we have, there are a set of circles, there are a set of stars. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to create, now this is a complete one plane, the X and a Y is one plane. In this one plane, I have A, B, and C as three hyperplanes. I'm trying to cut this hyperplanes into halves so that to create two different classes. Now answer me whether A, B, or C, the three hyperplanes which are cutting this entire plane, which one fits the best to claim the two classes as separate? A. Why A? Okay, people are writing A. Why? Because A is cutting it to two separate equal halves, wherein the circles are this side and the stars are this side. Our first observation says, you see that all the type of elements which are of the same types, they stay at one side, another element stays another side. Somebody is writing C also. No, C is not the right answer, nor B is the right answer. A is the perfect fit answer. Out of the three hyperplanes, circles and stars are separated. Yes, Shweta, right. That's correct. So, so good, good. I'm happy that you are being able to identify. Now I'm going to throw you another image. Now you tell me. Now you get confused. This is another image. All the stars are one side, all the circles are one side. A, B, C. Now which one? It's going to be confusing. All the lines, yes, but which is the? If I say you need to choose one, which one will you choose? C. Okay, there are a lot of C as answer coming. You will choose C. Why C? Why C? Why did you choose C? Why not B? Why not A? C has kept equal spaces for both, equal halves, position exact middle. Okay, now what my algorithm does here, I'll tell you, it will check one of the outermost element from all these elements of which are circles and from the stars. The outermost element here is this one. In these, the outermost element is this one, and it will compare the distance. It will compare the distance. So when it sees the distance of the outermost element to the equal halves, to the halves, when that distance becomes unequal, it will figure out that that is the correct answer. In A scenario, the distance of these two and the distance of this two is very different. It's not equal. In the scenario of B, if you see the distance from the star and the plane B and the system distance of the outermost circle of from here to B is much more, that's not sufficing. So it will check the equal distance. If the distance was equal, it'll check. Now what's happening in this scenario, I'll tell you. Now, if this is another scenario, what you will do? Which one you will select? A or B? Neither? Confusing, right? A or B? Confusing. People are saying A. So there were two conditions. Now, this is what I call as reinforcement learning. You guys have started learning. You guys have started learning by yourself. What happened here in the reinforcement learning from the previous experience of our two slides, you guys learned that there needs to be all the circles at one side, all the stars at one side. That is condition number one. Second condition, out of the two, if you find that if both the planes are dividing it, you need to check the second condition wherein the distance matters. So you check in the first condition, A is fitting, B is not fitting the first condition. You directly rejected B and accepted A. This is what we call as reinforcement learning, which just happened with you all. You experienced a reinforcement learning because of the rule sets. If my rule sets would have been different, then probably your answers would have been different. So exactly, yes, we know A is the answer. Are you getting it? Now this, how about this? What will you do in this scenario? How will you classify? Acceptable with some degree of error means this is considered as an outlier. In support vector machine, we call this element as an outlier. We need to reject this and accept the others. Are you getting it? We don't need to create another class. It belongs to circle class only. It is the same circle, but we need to reject it. Are you getting it? You understood the concept, how the classification is happening in machines? Maybe that's how it is working exactly while shuffling and understanding the balls. I hope you understood. Shubham, thank you for Shubham liked my answer, so thank you. Is this classification? Yeah, it is. It is happening. Now, this is not yet over. I have a surprise for you. What about this? What will you do? Now, this is going to be amazing. What will you do in this scenario? Somebody is writing encircle, somebody is writing for. You have to classify two classes. What will you do in this scenario? There are two classes. You need to classify them. Now, you are classifying with the help of a single line. The only choice you have got is the single line. That means the planes can be classified into two halves by a straight line. You can't use a circle. You've got only straight lines. In the space, there are no circles. When the planes are divided mathematically, we've got only lines. Vertical line, you will take the equal circles and stars. No, figures close to the coordinate. I'll tell you the trick. You'll love it. You're gonna love this trick. What if I fold this plane from above to below or below to above? What if I fold this? The stars here will gonna come here, all the stars, and the circles will come this side. And then it becomes like this. I am folding it. So what I'll do, I'll fold this entire plane. Just imagine this is a space of X and Y. I'm folding it. This exactly happens in machines. And then I draw a line and I try to classify them. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? That's what machines does. Because machines are trained in a limited scenario. They have to work in a limited scenario and find the best solution. This is how they find the best solution. So support vector machines that works that way to classify the classes. Because can you explain it again? Okay, so I'll tell you what I just did. From in this scenario, I have folded my space. This space and the below space, the above space and the below space. I have folded this space like a piece of paper. Okay, now you're folding a piece of paper. Now when you fold it, what you get, all the stars on one side, all the circles on one side, it becomes easier for you to draw a single line and classify. That exactly happened. Understood? All right. Let's go further. Now I have to explain you the deep learning part. So the part what you saw, that was just a machine learning part. What happens in deep learning, there are multiple layers. There are multiple hidden layers, 1, 2, 3, there could be n number of layers. So deep learning is a part of a broader family of machine learning methods based on artificial neural networks with the representation of learning. Now what's happening here in a deep learning? It will find out patterns inside another pattern, inside another pattern. So it's like I told you something right now. How you took it and what you got out of that is a deep learning part. I explained you something, a bit of understanding of machine learning. Now you take it to another level, you try to implement it in a different way and you get some outcome. That's deep learning. Then from one set of learning, you take another set of learning, and with another set of rules that you try to implement that in some other model. For example, I give you an example of the balls, how you classify them. Maybe tomorrow you use the same example of the balls and try to implement that in your office, wherein you are trying to segregate your stationery. Okay, so there, that scenario, we call it as a deep learning. Okay, deep learning, not only country is hidden, which continent, gender, race, ethnicity. Yeah, if you connect it to the example which we took earlier of the doll, it probably can be much more. It can be much more in depth. Okay, so that's deep learning. Correct. It's like filtering data. Yeah, you end up filtering data, Nikhil. Right. So are you getting it? So I just gave you an example of machine learning, and there's another example. Then there's a car. Probably there's some input which is happening. There's some feature extraction happening. The classification models are running, and the output is coming. Okay, just to give you an example, a difference between deep learning and a machine learning. What will happen in a deep learning? There'll be feature extraction and the classification and multi more things which are happening together in the neural networks, and the output is coming. Currently, the input is coming and the feature extraction is happening humanly, and the classification models are running, which I just explained you, and you get an output. Okay, so what happened? A human just saw an input. That input which a human saw, it checked the features. Maybe a machine checked the features. It classified into a set of vehicles, and then it said it's a car, and it's done. But wherein in deep learning, this feature extraction, the classification will happen, but it can even tell you it's not a car. It's a the deep learning outcome could be this is just not a car. This is a car with a transformer, or this is a car which is a 1980 model, or this is a car which is a Padmini Premier taxi, or this is a car which is with some XYZ more outcomes. So deep learning will give you a little more niche outcome of that. Are you getting it? I hope you're understanding. What is feature extraction? Okay, so when you try to understand a particular set of feature or set of properties of an input, and you give an outcome, that is feature extraction. Like for example, in this scenario, when the input is a dynamic input and there's a car. Now, have you seen the movie PK, Amir Khan? Have you seen the movie PK? So what happens in that, Amir Khan in that PK movie comes to a planet Earth. He has a little bit explanation. He has got simple little bit of knowledge. He tries to see, learn. So that's an unsupervised learning example. And then with he gets some more inputs, and he tries to analyze and understand, and finally comes to some conclusion. So that entire journey is all about understanding. So when he's trying to understand something, he's doing feature extraction. He sees that, okay, a yellow color is something which is identifiable from a far away, so he wears a yellow helmet. So what is that? He understood a feature and then he implemented it. That's feature extraction. You see, you understand the scenario. On the basis of the scenario, you understand the properties of the scenario, and you take decision accordingly. That's feature extraction. So there is another question. Sir, does the deep learning mean that there is no separate leg of human intervention? System is programmed to do the same? No, see, human intervention is there, but it's less. We are depending more on the machine. Okay. All right, so this has been done. So in broad sense, the bigger picture to make you understand, it goes this way, that AI has got machine learning and a deep learning and then a data science part of it. Okay, just to give you a little idea. There could be certain consequences which might come to our mind. Okay, there are some questions. Auto-driven car made on deep learning? Yes, definitely. What is the difference between unsupervised learning and a reinforcement learning? In unsupervised learning, what's happening? You are learning in a dynamic scenario whenever the situations are occurring. In reinforcement learning, you are learning from the occurrence which has already occurred. That's the biggest difference. So there could be certain questions in your mind, certain concerns with AI, which I've just written, maybe the safety. Okay, you might think that whether humans would be replaced. Okay, there could be several questions. There could be threat of privacy. You might feel, don't you think that there could be these chances? So if you think so, I'll come to that. I'll tell you. See, the systems are made for us. They are made for us to take care of the privacy. So maximum scenarios, yes, but an acceptable part. There are chances if the data is fed wherein the private data is exposed, then yes, it will cause a little bit threat. Threat to the safety. AI systems won't harm humans. Okay, so don't worry on that. They'll rather they are being built in a way to help humans. Are you getting it? All concerns are legit, but definitely they are not built. It's not always built to harm the human. So probably AI has been built to. It's like a knife, I would say. Knife is there to cut the vegetable, not to slit the throat. So you might have got the answer what I'm trying to say. So can we say expert system is a combination of a supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning? Yes, Khushbuji, possibly. Expert system is not just that; it has much more to it. I'll be coming on that while explaining the decision support system. I'll explain you what it exactly has. Is there a threat of AI creating entity like Skynet in the Terminator series? Not really for now, at least. Om, you don't need to worry. We'll have a happy life till we survive. What would be the news when there would be bots started developing new language about? Uh, I didn't get this question. Accountants' repetitive jobs will be replaced. See, I would say jobs will not get replaced. There'll be always several avenues. You might not be doing the same thing. Like for example, people who are ready to learn will not get obsolete. Right now, you as a chartered accountants have come here to learn AI. So why you have come here to learn AI? So that to learn the advancement, to have your skill upgraded. So maybe this is going to help you not to lose your job, but to have a better skill, so better outcome can come. So I don't believe that people said computers will come and jobs would be gone, but that never happened. Only jobs got changed. You need to change, and change is the only thing which is constant. That's what I believe. All right. Okay. There are a few more questions. Can you give example of practical application of deep learning? Practical example of deep learning would be, I can say, uh, the Tesla car that works on deep learning, or the space rockets. They work on deep learning, or when you are trying to, there are satellites which are trying to understand the entire geography. That's deep learning. Okay. I'll see a few more questions. What if two bots are made to chat with each other? Can they do it? Yes, they can to an extent. To create expert system, I didn't get. So somebody's posted a link, but won't be able to open the link. How is that CA in the things that you have taught us in our skills of development? See, it's a skill, as I said. Now, how do you use it? It's all in your hand. You have known a certain set of skills that you will be learning further about AI. Now, how you're going to implement, that's in your hand. So, for example, I just explained you a little bit, and then you use that knowledge to understand further. So this is a reinforcement learning. What's happening? You add a skill to your own potential, then at least nobody would be able to fool you, because tomorrow when you will be having AI implemented in your offices, nobody would be able to fool you. The showing that AI is something supernatural. At least you know what's happening. You will be able to better question. You will be able to better get your things done. New softwares which will come into the market, you'll be able to better understand them. Okay, what's the difference between fuzzy NLP, with Power BI, Tableau, Python? That so many things separate. The difference is huge. Autopilot, yes, it was a link for a bot language. Okay, but we can't open the link here in this chat window. So what is the difference between fuzzy NLP? This is a very long question to answer. Can you be a little more crisp so it becomes easier? All right. So maybe any more questions? Is fuzzy same? I didn't get it. Is fuzzy same? Varunji, I'm sorry, I didn't get your question. As Power BI. No, 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 no. Power BI is a tool. It's a software. Fuzzy is a technique. It's different. How hidden pattern get built? Didn't get it. Not clear why feature extraction is separate category in machine learning, but in deep learning it is part of classification. No, it's not a part of classification in machine learning. It is along with that. Are you getting it? The feature extraction is inbuilt. It's not. It is a separate, but it is inbuilt in deep learning. Is VBA AI? What VBA are you talking about? Can we have the slides to send all the participants? Yes, Shweta ma'am will be sending you all the slides. She will be giving you entire zip folder of the 10 days complete. So you will get it. Don't worry. It's a Visual Basic VB. Oh, no, 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 no. That is just a software to create. A VB is an outdated software. And like I remember using VB during my first year of BSc, and it was actually outdated that time. It's just a software to create UIs and logic. A bit of we can create small little softwares using Visual Basic. So no, no, no. AI is an implementation. It's not one software. The logic folding that you mentioned, two separate variables, will also have to be fed in the machines for. Yes, yes, yes. True, true, Satyajit. Definitely yes. Right. What is predictive analysis? Predictive analysis is when your machine tries to predict. So I'll be teaching you that in your decision support system when we are learning about a little part of BI also, how the algorithms are used to predict. I will be explaining that algorithm to you. Don't worry. Excellent presentation. Please include more commercial examples to help the learners. Okay, Satyajit, I'll try to do that. VBA is not VB, it's an Excel tool. Okay, you're talking about an Excel tool. So see, these are, if you're talking about all these tools of Excel, see, they are softwares. Don't consider AI is not a software. But don't confuse yourself with softwares and AI. AI is a technique. Artificial intelligence is an implementation in whole. Softwares could be and could not be a part of it. Okay, so don't confuse yourself that way. Okay, so that's it for today. Uh, Thank you, everyone. I hope you liked it, and we can conclude for the day. I hope I'm able
Yeah,
to just thank you.
yeah. So, hi everyone. So on behalf of WIRC of ICI, I would like to propose a formal vote of thanks to Saurabh sir. I think we had a great learning about the definition and concepts of fuzzy machine learning, deep learning, national learning programming. So I think we have gone into the basics and understanding the concepts in last couple of days. And I think from tomorrow onwards, we'll be looking at the AI applications, which Saurabh ji would be taking through us tomorrow. So
Uh,
thank you all
just
for your patient learning.
sorry, just to interrupt you. A little change.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, Asif sir would be taking this session instead of mine. So we've
Okay.
swapped that. A little small change. Sorry for the trouble. And because there is a
Sure.
reason
No.
we want to, because after the presentation, there is something more coming up with Asif sir. So he's going to explain his session tomorrow. And then I'll be taking my EA application session after that.
Sure. And what topic would Asif sir would be taking?
He'll be talking about the implementations, the fourth topic, with the using Excel, and he'll be taking explaining the business analytics part and all that part. So he wants to show that. So
Okay.
probably that will happen tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. So we'll take the data analytics module tomorrow for using Excel. I think that would be a good session for all of us. So looking
Yes.
forward everyone to join tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Yeah. Thank you everyone for your patient learning. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you everyone. We can end this session. Yeah.
Yes.